She responds to your texts, sometimes. She smiles at you when she feels like it. She flirts just enough to keep you interested, but never enough to make things real. Ever felt like you were just a backup plan? Yeah, because you probably were. And the worst part? You didn't even see it happening. See, when a woman sees you as an option and not a priority, her actions become very calculated. It's not always loud. It's not always obvious. In fact, it's usually wrapped in charm, mixed signals, and just enough affection to confuse the hell out of you. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll waste months, even years, chasing someone who never saw you as someone worth choosing. This video is going to break down the real signs, how she treats you when you're just an option. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're looking at it through the lens of Stoicism, meaning you're going to learn not just what she does, but how to stay calm, focused, and completely unbothered by her games. Because trust me, the moment she feels you're no longer desperate for her attention, everything changes. She replies when it's convenient. She smiles at you just enough to keep you from walking away, but never with the kind of warmth that says, "I'm all in." She laughs at your jokes, but only when she's not focused on someone else. And the hardest part? You keep hoping she'll come around. That maybe if you just stay consistent, stay patient, stay available, she'll finally wake up and see how good she has it. But that day never comes. And deep down, you already know why. You're not her priority. You're just an option, a backup, something she keeps on standby. And the longer you tolerate it, the more power you give her to keep treating you like you're easily replaceable. You can feel it in the way she answers your messages with short replies that feel like you're bothering her, in the way she makes plans with you, only to cancel last minute because something came up. You tell yourself she's just busy, just stressed, J. UST not ready for something serious. But if she truly wanted you, if she really saw your value, she wouldn't risk losing you to someone else. That's the truth most guys don't want to face. Women don't lose interest in men they genuinely see as high value. When she's into you, she makes it known. But when you're just another option, her energy shifts in ways that are subtle but soul-crushing. The emotional confusion this creates is brutal. One minute she's warm, affectionate, talking about the future, even calling you babe. Then out of nowhere, she pulls away. She becomes distant, cold, unavailable. You're stuck in limbo, trying to figure out what changed, wondering if you said something wrong or if there's someone else. You replay conversations, analyze text messages, obsess over her social media posts. You become consumed with trying to fix a connection that was never stable to begin with. And that's exactly how she keeps you in her orbit, unsure, unsettled, and addicted to breadcrumbs. What's dangerous is that most guys mistake these breadcrumbs for affection. They confuse a few compliments, a flirtatious message, or a late night, "I miss you" text as signs of interest. But those aren't real investments. That's just her feeding you enough to keep your hopes alive while she invests her true energy elsewhere. The guy she's obsessed with, the one she really wants, doesn't have to guess. She doesn't play games with him. She shows up fully. She's available. She's consistent. But with you, she keeps everything vague, undefined, safe, because she doesn't fear losing you. Here's where Stoicism comes in. When a woman sees you as an option, you have two choices. You can keep chasing, hoping your loyalty will somehow earn you a promotion to priority, or you can step back, get control over your emotions, and accept the reality for what it is, not in bitterness, not in anger, but in clarity. A stoic man doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't try to convince anyone of his worth. He understands that the moment you need someone to choose you, you've already given away your power. Think about how much time and energy you've already wasted on someone who won't even give you the same in return. All the overthinking, the sleepless nights, the constant wondering if she feels the same way. You're living in emotional debt, paying interest on a connection that only benefits her. She gets your attention, your energy, your loyalty. What do you get in return? Inconsistency, excuses, disrespect. And yet, you stay, because you're hoping things will eventually shift in your favor. But what if they don't? What if this is all she's ever going to give you? You've got to start paying attention to the patterns instead of the potential. Stop believing what she says when her actions are screaming something else entirely. If she's interested, you'll know. If she's not, you'll be confused. That confusion, that uncertainty, that's your answer. Because women who truly want you don't let you question your place in their life. They don't play emotional hide and seek, they make their intentions clear. So if she's not doing that, it's not by accident, it's by design. She's keeping you right where she wants you, close enough to feel wanted, but far enough to never feel secure. You've got to ask yourself, why are you okay with being someone's backup plan? Why are you giving your best to someone who treats you like you're optional? The longer you tolerate this, the more it erodes your self-worth. And once that goes, everything else starts to crumble. You stop showing up fully in your own life. You hesitate to take risks. You question your attractiveness, your masculinity, your entire identity, all because of one person who couldn't see your value. That's not love. That's emotional manipulation disguised as romance. It's not that she's a bad person. It's that you've allowed the dynamic to be this way. You showed her early on that she didn't need to try, that your attention was guaranteed, that no matter how poorly she treated you, you'd still be there. So now, even if she does like you on some level, she doesn't respect you. And respect is what fuels attraction long term. Without it, you're just a convenient option. Something easy, something she doesn't take seriously. Here's what changes everything. Detachment. The ability to want someone but not need them. To care but not be consumed. To love but still walk away the moment your peace is disturbed. That's real strength. That's stoicism in action. Because being stoic doesn't mean being emotionless. It means not allowing emotions to control your behavior. It means being grounded enough to recognize when you're being treated unfairly, and strong enough to do something about it. And look, pulling back won't be easy. You're going to be tempted to explain yourself, to send one last message, to ask for closure. But the truth is, closure doesn't come from her. It comes from you, from deciding that being half chosen is not good enough, from walking away without needing her to understand why. She doesn't need to agree. She doesn't need to apologize. All she needs to do is see your absence and feel the silence you leave behind. And she will feel it. Trust me, the moment you go quiet, the moment you stop reacting, the moment you remove your energy, that's when her mind starts spinning. She's used to being chased. She's used to holding all the power. When you break that cycle, it messes with her ego. She starts questioning what she lost, wondering if someone else has your attention now. And here's the beauty of it. Whether she comes back or not doesn't even matter. Because by then, you've already reclaimed your power. You've already stepped into a version of yourself that doesn't settle, that doesn't beg, that doesn't stick around hoping to be seen. You become the kind of man who chooses himself, and that energy is magnetic, not just to her, but to everyone. People can feel when you respect yourself, when you value your time, when you don't tolerate emotional games. And the women who couldn't see your worth before, suddenly they do. Because nothing is more attractive than a man who knows when to walk away. Now that you've walked away, the silence becomes your greatest weapon. And not because you're trying to manipulate her, but because silence is the clearest statement of self-respect. It shows that you're done trying to force someone to see your value. And when that happens, something shifts in the dynamic. See, when a woman sees you as an option, she believes your presence is guaranteed. She believes no matter how she treats you, you'll stay. So when you go quiet, it's not just unexpected, it's unsettling. It creates space for her to finally reflect on her behavior. Something she never had to do when you were always available. But here's the twist. If you're still hoping she comes running back, you haven't truly detached. Because stoicism isn't about pretending not to care. It's about building emotional discipline so strong that your peace isn't shaken by who stays or who leaves. It's about knowing that your value doesn't rise or fall based on how someone else perceives you. If she comes back and you're still emotionally tied up in the outcome, she still has power over you. That's not stoicism. That's just delayed weakness. True strength is being indifferent to the outcome because you've already chosen yourself. And when you choose yourself, you start noticing things you ignored before. You remember the times you lowered your standards just to keep her interested. The times you tolerated mixed signals, disrespect, emotional unavailability, all because you were afraid to lose her. That fear made you shrink, made you play small, made you betray your own instincts. But now with distance, it becomes obvious. You weren't losing her. You were losing yourself, and no woman is worth that price. Let's make something clear. Women don't respect men who tolerate being options. The moment she senses that you'll stick around no matter what, she loses interest. Attraction is built on polarity, on mystery, on knowing that a man has standards he won't compromise for anyone. When you show her that your emotions are stronger than your boundaries, she stops seeing you as a challenge. And when the challenge disappears, so does the excitement. You become predictable, boring, safe, and unfortunately, being safe doesn't inspire passion. It breeds indifference. But the moment you reclaim your space, emotionally, mentally, physically, you become unpredictable again. Not in a manipulative way, but in a grounded way. Because now you're not chasing her approval. You're chasing purpose. You're investing that energy back into yourself, into your growth, your discipline, your mission. And ironically, that's when women start noticing you again. Because nothing is more attractive than a man who no longer needs validation. She'll start testing the waters. She'll like your posts, reply to your stories, send you a random "Hey stranger" text. But don't confuse that for genuine interest. That's just her checking to see if the door is still open, if your energy is still available, if she still has access to you. And how you respond to that moment defines everything. Because if you jump at the first sign of attention, she'll instantly know. She still has you wrapped around her finger. But if you stay calm, detached, polite but distant, she realizes you're no longer the same man she once took for granted. And maybe then, for the first time, she'll start to regret it. She'll realize you weren't just another option. You were the prize. The man who would have given her everything, loyalty, stability, presence, but she was too blind to see it. That realization hits hard, and it only happens after you stop giving her the privilege of your presence. Because as long as you're available, she has nothing to reflect on. She doesn't have to change, she doesn't have to grow. Your energy was her safety net. But once it's gone, she's left to face her own emptiness. Don't wait for that regret to surface. Don't pause your life hoping she'll wake up and finally see what she lost. That's not strength, that's stagnation. Move, elevate, build. Use the same energy you once gave to her and pour it back into yourself, into your goals, into your habits, into your body, your mind, your business. Make yourself so grounded in your purpose that her approval becomes irrelevant, that her presence or absence no longer dictates your self-worth. That's when you truly become untouchable. And trust me, that version of you, the man who doesn't chase, doesn't flinch, doesn't settle, is unforgettable. Because most men don't make it there. They get stuck in emotional limbo. They keep repeating the same cycle. Chase, confusion, rejection, repeat. They never evolve past the phase of needing a woman to validate them. But you're different now. You've seen the game. You've felt the sting of being an option. And instead of letting it break you, you let it refine you. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not avoiding pain, but using it to transform. And when you reach that level, you won't even want her anymore. Not out of bitterness, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed her. You'll see her for what she was, a test, a reflection of where you once lacked self-respect. And now, you've passed the test. You've walked away. You've leveled up. And the silence you left behind isn't empty. It's filled with purpose, with self-respect, with power. Because here's the thing, women don't stay up at night thinking about the guys who begged for their time. They don't obsess over the men who never walked away. They think about the ones who disappeared quietly, the ones who didn't chase, the ones who made them question what they lost. And not because of what they said, but because of what they didn't say. That's the man you are now, calm, composed, unbothered, stoic. And once you become that man, you don't go back. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking clarity from someone who was never confused, everything shifts. You start realizing how much peace you sacrifice trying to keep someone interested. You remember all those conversations where you were pouring your heart out, hoping she'd understand, hoping she'd give you even a fraction of the energy you gave her. But she never did, because to her, you were convenient. She liked you maybe, but not enough. Not enough to prioritize you. not enough to choose you without hesitation. And the truth is, when someone really values you, confusion doesn't exist. Excuses don't exist. Delay doesn't exist. When it's mutual, things are clear. When it's not, everything feels like a guessing game. You were the guy she knew she could come back to when things didn't work out elsewhere. The safety net, the placeholder, the maybe later. And what she didn't realize is that being someone's second choice is a slow kind of death. It wears you down, bit by bit. You lose confidence. You lose presence. You start questioning your worth because you're stuck in a space where love isn't being returned. That's why the only escape is through detachment, and not the fake kind. Not pretending you're okay just to get her attention. Real detachment, where you no longer feel the need to prove anything to her, where you let go of who you thought she was, and finally accept who she actually is. And when that happens, something inside of you wakes up. You stop romanticizing the potential of what the relationship could have been, and you start seeing what it actually was. A one-sided situation where you gave more than you got. A dynamic built on hope, not reality. But hope can be dangerous when it's directed at the wrong person. It keeps you stuck in waiting mode, thinking that one day she'll realize your value. But that realization only comes after you walk away. And by then, you won't even want her anymore. Because once you've tasted peace, chaos becomes unattractive. Once you've experienced freedom from emotional games, you lose interest in anyone who plays them. The thing is, a woman who sees you as an option will keep you around just enough to maintain control. She won't completely cut you off, but she'll never fully commit. She'll breadcrumb you, little texts, random compliments, a flirty message just when she feels you slipping away. And if you're not centered, those crumbs will feel like meals. You'll start imagining that things are changing, that maybe she's finally realizing your value. But all she's really doing is keeping you close enough to stroke her ego, not close enough to actually build something meaningful. That's why Stoicism is so important. It protects you from falling for crumbs when you deserve the whole damn table. When you have emotional discipline, you don't respond to breadcrumbs. You don't chase someone just because they show you a little attention. You evaluate their consistency. You observe their actions, not just their words. And when you see that nothing's changed, you don't argue, you don't beg, you don't explain, you exit. Quietly, cleanly, completely. Because you understand something most men don't. Silence is more powerful than words. Absence speaks louder than presence. When a woman starts wondering why you're no longer available, why you no longer respond the way you used to, she starts realizing what she lost. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped saying everything. And in that silence, she's forced to reflect. She replays the moments you were there for her, the times you were patient, loyal, present, the effort you gave that no one else did. And while she might not say it out loud, she feels it. That loss, that shift, that emptiness where your energy used to be. And you're not even looking back, because you finally internalized the truth. A woman who sees you as an option doesn't deserve access to your consistency, your effort, or your loyalty. Those things are earned, not given freely to someone who can't even choose you clearly. And here's what's wild. When you truly detach, when you fully step into your power, she might actually start chasing. But by then, you've changed. You're no longer emotionally reactive. You're no longer dependent on her attention to feel good about yourself. And that's what makes you so dangerous. Not in a toxic way, but in a grounded, unshakable way. Because when a man no longer fears losing a woman, he becomes irresistible. He becomes a mystery, a standard, a man with boundaries that don't bend based on emotion. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's what keeps her up at night, long after you've moved on. The reality is, you can't change how someone sees you, but you can change what you tolerate. And the moment you stop accepting being treated like an option, your life begins to shift. Not just romantically, but in every area. You start showing up differently. You start protecting your energy. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You start honoring your standards like your life depends on it, because it does. Your peace, your clarity, your purpose, all of that depends on the boundaries you set and the energy you allow around you. And as your mindset shifts, so does your focus. You stop wondering what she's thinking, what she's doing, who she's with, and you start thinking about your goals, your habits, your purpose. You put that same energy into becoming a man you're proud of. Not to impress anyone, but because you realize that's where your real power comes from. And that's when your life changes. Not because someone finally sees your worth, but because you finally do. When you finally understand your worth, you stop needing validation from someone who barely noticed your value in the first place. You stop craving attention from a woman who only gave you her time when it was convenient for her. That's the biggest shift of all. You stop waiting for her to text back, waiting for her to make up her mind, waiting for her to realize something she was never blind to, just indifferent. Because when someone truly wants you, there is no confusion. There is no hesitation. They don't need to figure things out. They don't need time to process their feelings. They know what they want, and they move toward it with clarity. But when you're only an option, everything feels muddy. You're always unsure. You're always stuck in limbo, half in, half out. And that uncertainty becomes addicting if you're not careful. You start associating inconsistency with excitement. You think, maybe if I'm just a little more patient, maybe if I prove myself one more time. But what you don't realize is, every time you stay in that place, you're teaching her how to treat you. You're telling her, it's okay, I'll wait, I'll accept the bare minimum, I'll keep showing up even if you don't. That's not love, that's not strength, that's settling. And Stoicism teaches you that your time, your energy, your presence, it's a privilege, not a given. It should be earned through mutual respect and consistent action. So when you start living like that, when you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself, you naturally attract better. Not just in women, but in friendships, in business, in life. People start recognizing your energy because it's different. It's calm. It's confident. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not overextending. You're just being. And that presence, that unshakable calm, it's magnetic. It's the kind of energy that women actually respect, not just desire. Because it shows you're not led by impulse. You're not chasing short-term attention. You've got standards. And more importantly, you've got control over yourself. And here's the part most guys miss. When a woman sees that you've emotionally outgrown the version of yourself who once waited for her, she feels it. And it stings. Not because you're trying to hurt her, but because you've become the kind of man she was never ready for. A man with direction. A man with peace. A man who doesn't fold just because someone gives him temporary affection. She might reach out. She might even say all the things you once wanted to hear. But this time, you'll see it clearly. You'll see through the timing, through the sudden interest, through the recycled sweet talk. Because now you've got discernment, you've got self-respect. And no apology, no promise, no half-effort attempt will be enough to make you betray your growth. You know what it's like to feel like an option, and you never want to go back there again. So instead of feeding into her attention-seeking patterns, you stay silent, you stay focused, you stay centered. Not because you're playing games, but because you don't play anymore. You've outgrown the entire system. And that's the greatest power you can have, emotional freedom. You're no longer controlled by the hope of what could be. You're rooted in what is. You're not waiting for potential. You're evaluating reality. And if it doesn't align with your peace, your purpose, your standards, you walk, effortlessly, unapologetically. And ironically, it's in that exact moment that she begins to spiral. She starts wondering if she misjudged you. She replays your last conversations, overthinks your silence, scrolls through your socials looking for signs. But there are none. Because you've gone ghost, not as a tactic, but as a lifestyle. You're not doing it to hurt her. You're doing it to heal yourself. You're doing it because you finally realize that loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. You're doing it because you know peace is more valuable than attention. And once you have it, you protect it at all costs. A woman who once saw you as an option now watches you become the man no woman can easily access. And she realizes, maybe too late, that you weren't just another guy. You were the one who was willing to give her everything, until you weren't. And now that you're gone, she's stuck with the echo of your absence. That space she once occupied is now closed. Not out of bitterness, but out of growth. Not out of revenge, but out of respect for yourself. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't teach you to suppress emotions. It teaches you how to direct them. It teaches you when to give, when to pull back, and when to walk away for good. Because at the end of the day, the way a woman treats you when she sees you as an option says everything. She's not confused, she's comfortable, she doesn't need time, she needs contrast, and that contrast comes when you stop showing up. When you stop reaching out, when you stop giving her the security of your attention, that's when she feels the difference. And by then, it's not about making her chase you, it's about making sure you never chase her again. So if you've ever felt like you were just a backup plan, a second thought, a temporary distraction for someone who never really saw you, understand this: you were never the problem. Your presence was just too consistent for someone who only wanted convenience. And the moment you realize that is the moment everything changes. Watch the next video. To the new era of video creation with HeyGen, simply type your script to get started.